All right, we're playing a visit back at Dooley, Tackaberry, and we're talking to Dennis here. And Dennis actually brought up a really fascinating story about one of the major independents. Let's talk a little bit about what y'all are doing for that major independent.
Well, basically, what we're actually doing for them is we're going to work up a program so that the operators that come off of these offshore platforms are going to go to some training sessions. This is something that operator actually sponsors each year, where they bring operators in, all 4 shifts, A, B, C, and D, one at a time. And they bring these operators in and they put them through an entire week of training. This is all kinds of safety training, every kind of training update that you can imagine. But one of the things that we're going to do this year is that we're going to actually, for each one of those crews, as they come in, typically about 100 operators per shift, we're going to actually break those up into teams. And what we've done is that we're setting up an emergency incident on a platform. And then each one of these teams, we're going to break them up into about 10 teams. And so each one of these teams then will have the very same platform. They're going to have an incident that occurs, like a flange leak, will more than likely be our scenario. But then, once these teams have congregated, what we're going to do is that for each one of these teams, we're going to walk around with a card that has an incident on it. And for example, that could be a flange leak with a gas release. That could be a flange leak with a jet fire. That could be a flange leak, with a liquid spill. But each one of these teams will get a different emergency scenario. Then they have to develop the strategy on how they're going to cope with it. Now, what's interesting about that is that each of these teams then will get up and present whatever their solution to the problem, how they go about approaching it. And when they do that, all the other teams are going to, by cell phone, they're going to actually vote. And they're going to rank each one of these teams' approach to the problem, typically on probably a 0 to 10 scale. They'll rank that team and how they approached whatever that problem was. For example, we may have one that there's a flash fire with an injury, and that team then has to figure out how they're going to deal with the emergency and also deal with getting that person out and getting them evacuated off the platform. So they'll actually vote by phone on each one of these teams, and whatever team turns out to actually have the highest score, it's going to get a trophy. They're going to be the top team, the A team, Top Gun. We haven't really figured out yet exactly what the term is that we'll use for them, but we believe that by doing this, we're getting them out of their comfortable environment on that platform. We're going to give them something that they will not expect, and they're going to have to work out a strategy on how they're going to deal with it. And we believe by doing that getting them very actively involved, we believe that as each team makes their presentation, other members of other teams are probably going to have comments on that. We're going to leave time for that so that we get a great exchange of ideas. I think there'll be some challenges. I think there's going to be some really good conversations. But ultimately, what we want to do is get those folks involved in thinking on their feet with an unforeseen situation that gives them the opportunity to see how best they might cope with it, and then actually be critiqued by other team members that work on other platforms out in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, so the cool thing about this is peer-to-peer learning, which is actually the best way to teach somebody versus stuck in a classroom reading a PowerPoint presentation.
As a matter of fact, that's how it started out. When I first started out with this conversation with this client, that's exactly where we started. And I thought about that, and I thought, the guys that we're going to be working with, and ladies, they're action people. They're not ones that are going to want to sit there while somebody drones on and on for 3 hours, because it's a 3-hour exercise doing PowerPoints. You're exactly right. And I thought about that, and I thought, man, I'm going to lose their attention very quickly. And from that point on, all I'm doing is just talking and wasting time. So I came back to the client and proposed. I said, what about this? Let's think about this. And to be honest with you, the client was extremely receptive to it. They actually got really excited about it. Just had a meeting this week with them and went over what the plan was. And they're extremely enthusiastic about it. So I think it's going to be an excellent opportunity to add value to these guys coming offshore and coming into a classroom environment.
Yeah, so if you're a company out there that needs training, and Dooley Tackaberry, your expertise is around fire safety, right?
That's correct. Basically, we've provide all types of fire protection equipment. We provide all types of engineered and designed systems and installation. But one of the things that, to be honest with you, if you're really, my opportunity that I offer is to actually sit down, because of my experience and background, which is both technical and practical, sit down and actually help you with a solution that may or may not involve systems.
So if people want to learn more about Dooley Tackaberry, where should they go?
Well, they can go right on the internet. Just go on the internet and look up Dooley Tackaberry. And of course, my name is Dennis Taylor. You can send us an email, but we've got a website with all of our different capabilities on that.
Yeah, and we'll stick a link in the show notes so you don't have to be writing anything down. Dennis, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Thank you.